we have our first proper tournament of the season, and with it, we got to see a whole bunch of new trios. Peterbot has a new trio, Venno has a new trio, Malabuka has a new trio. We have some of the biggest teams in the world forming new trios, and I want to talk about why that is. We also have new drop spots. I want to talk about where all the pros are dropping, which drop spots look the best, why the new tournaments are just completely broken. Qualification on EU was over 540 points. I do want to talk about the game itself, the meta right now. I haven't really made a video talking about all the new weapons, the lightsabers, all the craziness. So this is a banger video. We've got a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. All right, so what is going on with all of the new trios? Now, I'm getting this question a lot, and honestly, the simplest way to put it is there's no FNCS this season. People are just playing with whoever they want to for the memes. Now, some of these are interesting trios that, have some kind of things to talk about for next season. But right now, if you want the simplest answer of why you're seeing, Vico, Venno, Flixie splitting up, why is Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual no longer playing together, it is because memes, basically. It's just doing what they want to do. This season for a lot of pros is basically just a chill season. There's no FNCS. There's nothing really major on. There's only one trio cash cup a week, and it's got a reduced prize pool to last season. The meta is interesting, which we'll get to in a second. So it's pretty much leading to a bunch of pros just playing with whoever. Not to mention, skill-based matchmaking has been turned off in opens, which is leading to qualification being over 540 points on EU. You needed to get 542 points in 10 games, 3 hours just to make finals on EU. Now, this is for a number of reasons. Obviously, skill-based matchmaking has been turned off, but because it's Div 1 and Div 2 combined, it means that you have the top tier teams just absolutely running through lobbies. On NA, we had Ritual, Rapid, and Threats, which again, very odd trio, winning it on 730 points. They got 178 eliminations in 9 matches, but it gets even worse. We had Vanya, Pixie, and Marius, an FNCS winning trio sticking together, taking it serious. I love this from these guys. They're locking in even on the chill season. They got 764 points. They dropped 185 elims in 7 matches. They had a KD ratio of 61.67. They got 61 kills for every time they died once. That is just absurd. I am personally really hoping Fortnite turns skill-based matchmaking on, because we only have a few of these tournaments, but it is making them pretty boring to watch. If you watch any of the streamers playing, they just have like 15, 20-man end games. It just feels like kind of stacked ranked games, and I'm not sure what Fortnite was expecting. Skill-based matchmaking when it was only Div 1 had the games being pretty dead as pros just ran through lobbies. Adding Div 2 into the mix, of course, it was only gonna get worse. And I know, longer queue times suck, but I feel like most pros and most people playing the tournament who aren't pros would happily take longer queue times to get better games. If you wanted instant queue times to just run through whole lobbies, you just go play ranked, but that's not what you want normally when you play a tournament. You want to verse people of equal skill level to yourself. So pros usually want to get stacked games so they can actually practice and have fun, because it's the only time a week you're going to get stacked games out of scrims, which because of the season aren't really filling. So scrims aren't really a thing right now. And if you're an up and coming pro, if like you guys who want to just play these tournaments in practice, you don't want to be running into pros every single game, just getting steamrolled. You want to be versing people of a fairly equal skill to yourself so you can improve. So I'm not really sure who the no skill-based matchmaking helps. I don't think anyone prefers it, at least from what I can hear. So really hoping Fortnite changes that, so at least we get some stacked open tournaments going forward, because we've had a whole bunch of 2-round qualifying formats, which because they're 2 rounds, they always feel a bit boring. Now we're back to 1 round, and then Fortnite does this. So I'm really hoping this gets changed. Now, before we talk about how the pros are actually playing the new season, what's the meta, how it's playing out, I do want to talk about some of these trios, because some of them are really interesting. So on NA, I already touched on it. We have Ritual, Rapid, and Threats, which means obviously no Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot. The reigning FNCS champions on NA have split. Peterbot is actually playing with none other than Booga and Craze, which is a very interesting trio. Not really sure what's going on here. Bucky, Okus, and Craze just confirmed they're going to be going to NA West to compete in FNCS, but I guess that's next season, so not really sure exactly what that means for Craze right now. I guess he's just going to get some reps in with Peterbot, which would be a really good way for him to practice and gain some experience. Cold didn't end up playing the FNCS Showdown in a very cold fashion, so if you're wondering where he's playing with, he's not on the trio. Ritual, Rapid, Threats, like I talked about. We do have some other trios sticking together. Scare, Edgy, and Chance are running it back again after not even making grands. We have the Hispanic boys, Noisy, Creon, and Tony doing really well. Muzz and Shadow and Rise, so we might potentially have the answer of who Muzz and Rise's third is going to be. They didn't make land with Yapko. There's rumors that Yapko is going to go back to EU and stay on EU, so maybe Shadow could be their pickup. We did have Clicks, Higgs, and Yomzo still sticking together. They're still playing together, locked in this season. They were really locked in. When I talk about it being a break season, Clicks, Higgs, and Yomzo playing on stream with a delay, BloodX coaching the call, really locked in and trying hard on this one. We had Reed, Cooper, and Curly, another land qualified team, sticking together. So it's not like every single trio split up. Now, over on EU, this one gets a little bit spicier. There has been rumors of why we don't have Veno, Vico, and Flixie playing together. Rumors are, and again, this is while I was away and not paying attention, so take it with a grain of salt. Apparently, Vico contested Veno and Flixie in a reload tournament. This caused a rift between Veno and Vico, causing Veno to block Vico on multiple social media platforms, and now they are not playing together. I don't know how real this is. There was also the bit of drama with Vico saying on different streams that Flixie sold their grand finals, which again apparently caused some pretty bad vibes in the trio. So right now for this season, they are not playing together. Maybe behind the scenes their vibes are totally fine and all of this was just other things that happened, but right now Vico, Veno, Flixie are not playing together, and this might actually be a potential issue going forward. This isn't just like Pete Ritual splitting up to play with other people for fun. This is a little bit different. Now they've picked up none other than Shark, and this is amazing for Shark. Up and coming, developing player, absolutely popping off. He's under Raz as well, the coach who Veno and Flixie work with as well. So Shark being put in this trio, letting him develop his skills, playing with two of the greatest players in the world under the coach he's been working with, build up that confidence, build up his, his stocks as well. Other teams are really going to want to play with Shark after this. This is nothing but W's for Shark. So I'm really interested to see how this plays out. I did see some people confused, like, why would you play with a duo that you can't possibly play with next season for FNCS when you could use this season as a way to practice and build up your trio options? But I think there's no better practice than playing with Veno and Flixie, and Shark is going to have no issues finding a trio next season, would be my guess. Now, Vico hasn't found himself on too bad of a trio anyway. He's playing with Malibuca and Froxy, which means Malibuca and Fred's teams, who have both made land, also aren't playing with their trio. So it's not super unusual to see these land qualified and pop-off teams not playing together. Don't panic too much. But one trio that has quad land that is sticking together and unfortunately hasn't had a big showing is Ages, Acorn, and Poyo, the trio that most people are scared for their vibes right now, thinking they probably would take the opportunity to play with different trios to queue up with different teams. They decided to play together, and they came 488th, getting 221 points when qualification was 521. They didn't even get half the points required to qualify. So I really hope they were just messing around. It was just memes and they weren't taking it too seriously, because that is a little bit concerning for a team that a lot of us are paying attention to see what is going on. The season 1 FNCS winners, they didn't perform as well as a lot of people thought in season 2, and now things are looking a little bit rough. So we'll have to wait and see. It is worth pointing out, I know we had that rule change where teams that are locked into LAN cannot earn in FNCS. Even though this is called an FNCS Showdown, it is not technically FNCS. These players can still earn money from these cash cups. It's not actually an FNCS. I don't know why Fortnite keeps calling tournaments by FNCS when it's not. It just gets really confusing, but I thought I'd clear that up in case you were wondering why these teams are playing for zero money. I do want to give a bit of an update on what's going on with Mr. Savage. I made a video yesterday talking about how he might move to NA West to play with Stable Ronaldo and Lacey. Turns out today he jumped on Twitter to let the community know he will be staying in EU. Now, while I truly believe this wasn't a content farm, it wasn't clickbait, I do think he was considering it, and that is interesting going forward if something goes wrong with his trio or his drop spot. But for now, he's staying in EU. He's playing with Rezon and Chap. Now, he wasn't able to play the first Cash Cup of the season because he had a concert. He let people know he is playing with Rezon and Chap. They played with a Phil. That is his trio. Now, Mongrel didn't say anything and didn't get on and play, so I have no idea what is going on with Mongrel, and I can't really update you there with what the plan is. Even though there is no FNCS this season, it's still fun to see who's dropping where, and one of the big spawn fights I was so excited to watch, Peterbot versus Clicks at the first order base, is not happening. I guess because Peterbot not playing his actual trio, doesn't want to go there anymore after claiming it at the start of the season. Clixie, Omzo, and Higgs will have that uncontested. Peterbot instead dropping with Booga and Craze at Seaport City. Phenomenal drop. Booga knows it really well. It makes a lot of sense. We do have some good spawn fights to watch though. We have Ritual going up against Xander down at Master Meadows. We have Bolts and G-Money and Osid gone up against Asta at the Outpost Enclave, one of the new PYs as well. Then we have Bucky getting uncontested at Foxy Floodgate. We have Muzz, Shadow, and Rise sticking to the shafts. We have Reek, Cooper, and Curly sticking to Flooded Frogs as well. Noisy, Creon, and Tony are going to be sticking to Pump Power. However, we do have Aiden versus Seek over at Lone Wolf Lair. Now the Clicks is left. We have Visuals versus Zunix over at Crime City. We have a triple contest down at Darth Vader's new Samurai Shogun drop. We have Ozone versus Oreo versus Snowy. We then have some other big spawn fights worth watching, but I do think a lot of these big teams at these old and new uncontested POIs will be interesting to watch. Meanwhile, over on EU, Veno versus Tayson. Veno, Flixie, and Shark. I wouldn't say Veno, Vico, Flixie. Veno, Flixie, Shark versus Tayson, Chicho, Chris will be a banger fight over brutal boxcars. Not sure why two big teams want brutal boxcars, but it is what it is. Vico, Malabuka, and Feroxy are actually claiming first order base uncontested. Pink versus Kendrop on the south, just the split to the south of that. Wox is still trying to hold down Lone Wolf Lair, even without his trio up against Kenty over at Lone Wolf. Then we have Thomas HD versus Cheated Outpost Enclave, a triple spawn fight at Kappa Kappa between Hellfire, Artist, and Kotcha. We have Twy versus Zabe over at the mountain, so if Mr. Savage does want to go that mountain drop with Rezon and Chap, they are going to be contested, of course. Meanwhile, Rezon Chap did qualify to finals with Maxi King, and they're going Crime City, so that could be a kind of a teaser of where Savage is going to be dropping when he's playing with his trio. Volko has uncontested Vader's Samurai Solitude. Vanya is still going Flooded Frog, sticking the drop they know. Ilusha, Wheat, and Frizia sticking to Magic Mosses, so it should be a really exciting finals. As for how the actual meta is playing out, I do really want to watch the finals before I give too much judgment, because it was just full 30 and 40 bomb W key fest. I mean, the lightsabers are pretty obnoxious. Being able to just pull people through the walls out of their box into your box is obviously insane, especially when you can do it off high ground. Just pull them down and make them die to fall damage at up to 50 meters away. If you don't have that, you can always throw rocks at them and break their builds and hit them for 100 damage through walls. Maybe that isn't your cup of tea, so you can throw a boomerang lightsaber that breaks their builds, hits them, and comes back to you and allows you to hit crazy pre-fires. This on top of weapons that hit like freight trains. The shotgun hits like a freight train. The DMR does like 130 plus headshots. All of the guns have infinite ammo, so it's a spray simulator. There is no mobility outside of throwing grenades under cones, which you then take fall damage from. Don't even remind me that you can also nade stack and instantly blow up builds with the grenades while your screen is warping and shaking. There's a reason why not a lot of people are playing Fortnite Battle Royale right now, and there's a reason why a lot of pros are taking a break. I'm going to enjoy the season for what it is. It's a goofy season with a bit of a break. Hopefully, Fortnite is going to put some of the money from this collab into the competitive prize pool. It's not so bad that I think it's going to make tournaments unwatchable, but I definitely hear those of you guys who are frustrated playing the game, but I still think it's going to be fun to watch, but I want to see how stack lobbies play out before I give too much judgment.